Nice. Hopefully people are coming in now. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all. I can't see any indication of who might be here, so hopefully everybody is joining. And we'll just get started. In any moment now, we'll get started. Here we go. Let me just open up participants so I can see people joining. There's a good crew here. Nice. Okay. With that in mind, I'm going to get started then. So, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. This is the first public session of the FEI Forum. My name is Philida. I am CEO of Face Equality International. My visual description is that I have long brown hair. I'm wearing a stripy white and blue shirt. I have facial scarring and I've got pink glasses on today. If you are joining in a different language, you can use translated captions. So if you navigate down to the bottom toolbar, you should have a captions option and you should have the option to translate into your language and hit save there. Also, please be mindful of the community guidelines, which Steph is kindly going to post into the chat box. So please, if you are commenting, keep it nice, keep it friendly, keep it supportive. So here we are, the Face Equality International Forum. Very, very excited to be opening this up to anybody today. I will allow plenty of time for questions at the end, so you will be able to submit those in the chat box. But if there are questions throughout, please don't hold back, ask them. Steph, behind the scenes, our head of marketing, is on hand to help answer them. So I'm here to tell you about our new strategy. It's very exciting. I have been so close to this over the past year, so close that in planning this, I was thinking about leaping straight into strategic objectives and key messages and impact measures. And then I thought, actually, strip all of that back. And that is indicative of the process of planning out this new era of FEI, is that we wanted to strip back the jargon. We wanted to make things super simple and bring it back to the why. Why are we all here? So we exist within this lovely little echo chamber here at FEI where people just get it. Yes, we hear about atrocities and the mistreatment of the facial difference community day in, day out, but actually we forget sometimes that a lot of people have never heard of the face equality movement. They haven't even necessarily heard of the term facial difference, because that in itself is a word that has been kind of coined in the past couple of years by some activists. So we wanted to strip things back to basics and not make any assumptions about where people are at, and just start with the truth, the facts, the reality of living with a facial difference. So with that in mind, I'm going to go to my next slide, hopefully. Here we go. So this felt like a really good place to start. You can see here some press cuttings, which were collated by our team, mostly Hannah, our head of policy and education, and most of which over the past couple of months, where we seem to have seen an influx of stories about facial difference, which is on the whole a good thing, exposure wise, awareness wise, but also a lot of these stories are either talking about people being treated badly, about the mental health toll of appearance affecting conditions, about parents in distress, about no one wanting to play with their child, and people even being refused service in restaurants because they look different. I myself, as someone with facial scarring, have had a complex relationship with the press. And I too got caught up in sharing my story in a tabloid newspaper after I was in a car accident in 2015, thinking that some good would come of it, that it would be a positive way to channel a traumatic experience. But actually, I came away feeling violated, and as though the most kind of poignant thing to ever have happened in my life was being used as clickbait. So there's some really positive, celebratory stuff here. And then there's the stuff that reinforces that narrative about the facial difference community being pitied. And we've got the full spectrum. We've got the inspirational stories here, and then we've got the pity stuff as well. And again, that exposure is good. Telling it how it is good. Getting a better understanding of rare conditions, of medical needs, of financial and access and rights and challenging discrimination, but also getting to see yourself reflected in the toys that you buy as a child here as well. You've got Barbies with lived experience. This is all good stuff, but you have to think about what perhaps someone who doesn't have that lived experience is getting when they read these stories. Is this normalizing facial difference? Is it commanding respect and dignity? And are these stories being told in the words of those who are living with that facial difference? Also, should simply having a facial difference and going about your day-to-day life be newsworthy? Or is it the fact that for whatever reason, there are barriers to living the life that you choose, to being able to thrive, and that's why facial difference is making it into the news? What would need to happen for us to live in a world where facial difference is normalized, where people have access to whatever it is that they might need to be able to thrive, and where the general public sees us in a way in which we are commanding respect and dignity? What would the news story look like then? So media representation is just one of the many kind of focal points for the face equality movement. When it comes to our members and the charities and support groups, we know that media exposure is actually vital for them to shout about their work and the needs of their communities. So importantly, if you don't already know, where Face Equality International Alliance members provide vital services to the facial difference community, they are often healthcare focused, financial focused, condition specific support groups, for example. We come in to help them to do the societal bit, the change out there in the world that needs to go on in tandem with supporting the individual living with the facial difference. So that's why one of the first things we did at FEI shortly after forming in 2019, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen here a picture of the first ever forum, which was in London in March of 2019. You can see a gathering of people who I've just met with about 20 minutes ago. And it was not long after this that we started working on an international media standard, which you can see on the right hand of your screen here. And now, 6 years later, there is so much incredible work going on around the world. And what was a small movement with a footprint here in the UK, and as I understand it, went all the way over to Taiwan next to the incredible work of the Sunshine Welfare Foundation, now has roots all over the globe and is a growing movement across the whole world. You can see here the annual picnic on the bottom right, which is something that goes on in the Czech Republic, which we absolutely love to see every year. You can see face equality football matches in Turkey with the Happy Faces Association. Top right, you can see that there is exhibitions going on in North Carolina and the Facing Forward Foundation. You can see face equality training sessions in the Netherlands, and you can see people taking to social media across the globe. And the movement is growing all the time, and that is a testament to the people behind it, the people getting out there and talking about face equality, talking about their experiences, and giving a name to this movement, a brand, a vehicle to talk about these topics is something that we're so proud of here at FEI, when often these topics are historically shrouded in stigma and shame. And that is, of course, made worse by that media picture that we have just spoken about. So to give you a little insight into our history, you've got some key milestones here on the screen. So we formed first as a Guernsey charity in late 2018 by our late founder, Dr. James Partridge, OBE. I joined him in the March of 2019, where we planned the first ever International Face Equality Week. Not long after that, we had COVID. Not long after that, we had the death of our founder, James. And then in between, there's been multiple economic crises along the way, and we're still very much in the throes of one right now. But in that time, we have absolutely persisted. For me, a milestone was establishing ourselves as a UK charity. That was in April 2022. And that was where we first brought in Chloe as well, who has been the backbone of FEI. And that is where the real work began. For such a long time, it was just Chloe and I doing whatever we could, her working 2 days a week, me a little bit more than that. Neither of us ever working full time, but doing what needed to be done and punching above our weight always, which is something that even though we are now growing, we want to hold dear to our identity as an organization. So establishing the need for our work has never been a problem and will never be a problem. There is too much need from birth to death. Living with a facial difference comes with challenges, whether it's medical intervention, constant doctors and hospital visits, to going to school, trying to make friends, getting into a relationship, getting a job, walking down the street without being stared at and persecuted. We live in a world that prizes a very narrow view of beauty, and where there is such pressure to look a certain way. And at the beginning of last year, there was just two of us working on this, and now there are seven, still only the equivalent of three, nearly four full-time members of staff. And as we come into this new era of FEI, we're asking ourselves constantly this one question: why? Why is our work needed? What's the human impact of our work? Yes, to the individual who has lived experience, but also to the passerby, the manager, the policymaker. We asked ourselves, how should each of these people feel as a result of interacting with our mission as a nonprofit? So I invite you to ask yourself, as a member of this community, as someone that's interested in this cause, why does our mission resonate with you? Why do you think people should know about it? Why do you think people should know what it's really like to live with a facial difference? And please write that. I invite you to write that if you're comfortable in the chat box, so that we can try and bring this back to that kind of human impact again, and then we can share and reflect at the end. Let me just open up the chat box for myself. So please, throughout, feel free to use the chat box and ask it and tell me what your why is, why you're interested in the face quality movement, why this cause resonates with you. Here is just a snippet of when we asked when we asked our board of trustees what this meant to them. So how do we want people with facial difference to feel as a result of engaging with in our work? We ran a big consultation for about a year with the help of a wonderful consultant called Flora, who is actually delivering a session for us later on today on AI. She spoke with our members, she spoke with individual activists, she spoke with grassroots groups, professionals working in relevant fields, some known to us, some who had never interacted with our work ever before, but all of whom fed into why our work might be needed, what strength could come from working together, why a group would want to come and be part of this community. And I, for one, have always been humbled, and was so humbled by the fact that increasingly people were coming to us from all walks of life, from every corner of the planet, to say, hey, I want to come and be a part of this. And I see a strength in being a part of the Alliance. And that was what we wanted to address with the new strategy. So what we needed to do next was combine it all together. The why, the what we were already doing, what we were already punching above our weight doing and trying to do, but perhaps not doing well, which, by the way, was a lot for a small team. But what we knew we were good at, and what the members needed from us, what the community needed from us, but also most importantly, what was unique to us, where we could add the most value. And here's where we landed. So on the left, you can see our grounding truths, what we know about the state of the world, what we know are the realities for someone with a facial difference. So we know that this is incredibly isolating, and whether someone is an individual activist or an organization, often you are working very hard against systems, against disadvantage. And we wanted to bring in this new empower and equip model for our members and for a wider alliance as well. So we are opening up the doors currently to grassroots groups. So you no longer have to be a registered charity to come and join the alliance. You can come and apply and be a part of it if you are part of any sort of informal group. You could be a Facebook group, you could be a support group, you could be an advocacy group. Come along and you'll get that same empower and equip model through our education program, with this forum here being just one element of that right there. Then we've got the representation piece, the fact that we all too often see that negative depiction of facial difference out there in the world, and we want to raise the visibility of this community in an empowering and positive way. Then there is the more targeted work. So an example of this is right now we have a partnership with Sephora UK. We know that the beauty space is an area where people feel historically excluded. But also we have our workplace training program, which we would love to open up to more members and take global in the future, because we know that inequity and problems getting work and bullying in the workplace are all challenges. Then we have our policy piece. So we've had some great wins in recent years about putting facial difference on the global policy arena. So as the only UN accredited non-profit feeding into the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities that represents this global community, we've definitely had a few policy wins, but this is slow. This is long game work. And this is just one of the many things that we want to work on. But actually, where previously this was our number one objective, actually what we've done is we've brought the community up to number one with them as our core focus. And then underpinning all of this is the nuts and bolts of running an organization. So paying the people to be the experts behind the scenes, making sure that we are paying our contributors, making sure that we are keeping the lights on as an organization. Growing a sustainable organization is fundamental, because this is not going away anytime soon. And there is an incredible amount of work to be done. It is work that we are all doing. And so having an organization that runs smoothly behind that is also fundamental to our success. Right, next slide. Oh, I've just noted about chat not being enabled. So hopefully that is working now. If you're still thinking about what your why is, please, and it's working, please do let me know. And we'll come to Q&A at the end. Hopefully it's going to be working by then. So to put the corporate objective side aside for one moment again, seeing as I promised not to go too corporate into the processes and everything, I'm going to bring it back for a moment just to my why, and just to insert myself into the situation for a moment. But it's the people for me. It's the stories, the interactions, the moments where I meet someone who is just as excited by this work as I am. And I am so privileged that with this work and with projects, I've been able to travel to a handful of places over the past couple of years to make projects happen. And I've been able to better understand what life is like across the globe for anyone with a facial difference. And there are absolutely differences from place to place, from culture to culture, person to person. But actually, the human experience is often fundamentally the same. So everyone at some point has had inadequate healthcare, irrespective of their socioeconomic background or where in the world they have received it. So everyone has also felt let down by systems with barriers to overcome in day-to-day life. as though the world hasn't been built with us in mind. And it's that one-dimensional view of facial difference as solely a medical issue, as something to be fixed, that inevitably makes us feel broken. And I am so proud to be part of this community. And it's that living in a broken world that often gets in the way of us being able to thrive. So it's in those systems, it's in those barriers that we can have the most power, be able to fix things beyond ourselves, whilst of course having our own emotional and physical needs met in tandem. So that's our purpose. So that's why every human that a story that I get to witness is so unique and so valuable. But also the magic for me is in finding those shared challenges that bind us together and give us that common cause. So to bring it back, I'm getting a reminder now to remind you all to add your why into the Q&A box. So add that now, it should all be working. So we have a new vision and mission. So we're focusing very much on the barriers that exist, where people with, we want to create a world where people with facial differences are thriving, but also proud to be themselves. And also bringing our mission back to that community focus. So thinking about working together as an alliance, as a capacity builder, as a vehicle for anyone, whether you have lived experience or not. This is not an exclusive vehicle. We want anybody to be able to make face equality a reality, irrespective of what your background is or whether you have lived experience or not. That collective responsibility piece is so important because the onus can't just be on someone who has that own lived experience. So that working together is really important. And then we're thinking about people being seen. So that visibility point, that having a voice, the being protected, be that through policy, but also wider out there in our systems as well. And just fundamentally being respected as well. So that seen, protected, and respected is a bit of a mouthful, but that's much less clunky, if you would believe it, than our previous messaging, which was all focused on human rights and advocacy. And there was just lots of jargon in there that was making it that bit harder to explain what it is that we do. So bring it back to the Alliance for a moment. So what we do is we build capacity. So we connect and we equip those organizations providing vital services so no one has to work in isolation. We know that often living with a facial difference comes with experiences of social isolation. It can come with experiences of anxiety and feeling like no one understands what this is like. And actually that is paralleled with the experiences of the charities that are often overwhelmed, working in a really challenging space where, again, often this is an overlooked issue. People don't get it. So actually we recognize that reducing that overwhelm, making sure that people are connected, empowered, and equipped is fundamental to the Alliance. And again, at present, that is for groups. So whether you're a grassroots group or a non-profit, we absolutely have views to open up the Alliance model in future when we have the capacity to do so. How do we fund our work? So I think sometimes people don't know that we are a charity and that we deliver a service. So one of the ways that we fund our work is that members pay a fee that is proportional to their size, that joint funds the campaign, but also it enables them access to our educational program. And that educational program is growing. So where previously it was limited to just this day, this moment, the annual conference that we put together, we are planning out a whole new program of activity under that Empower and Equip model, where people have access to educational resources and webinars throughout the whole year to make it as accessible as possible. And then remit and language. So I myself like to use the term disfigurement. I think for me it's powerful. I like to reclaim it, even though it is kind of often seen to be inherently negative. It changes from person person. It's a deeply, deeply personal thing, how you like to refer to yourself. And self-identification is very important, but also using the language that is enshrined in the law in your country. We know that people exercising their rights around equality and discrimination around facial difference is so vital. And actually, if for whatever reason you have access via the use of the term disability or disfigurement, being empowered to use that is absolutely fundamental. So this is why we have a flexible approach to language, where we both recognize the importance of self-identification, whilst also being pragmatic about the fact that this will change and is constantly evolving. But we want people to feel empowered to use the language that is enshrined in their laws. And that is just important for people to exercise whatever protection they might have as an individual in their relevant country. So that's it for me. I feel like I have spoken a lot and I'm already losing my voice and coming down with something. I'm hoping now that the chat box might be working, and that I can hopefully see some questions, but I would love to take questions from anybody that might have them. I will keep an eye on the chat box. Otherwise, you're just going to have to hear me. Here you go. Hey, Steph.
Hello. Yes, I've updated the chatbot chat settings, but I don't think it's allowing it to update. So people have been posting some of their whys in the Q&A. So if you can access the Q&A box, otherwise I can read them out for you.
Um, that will probably be why, as I was looking in the wrong place. Let me see if I can go on, read one out for me whilst I try and get it up.
Okay, so Louise has mentioned that their why is that their daughter doesn't always feel comfortable leaving her front door, and this isn't acceptable.
Yeah, 100%. I was bringing it back to that human experience earlier around every single touch point in a person's life. And the sad state of affairs is that, yes, sometimes simply leaving the house, people are persecuted. Um, I've got, I've now got access to the Q&A, which is great. We did say, didn't we, that a tech issue would be inevitable. So hey, at least we've gotten it out of the way now. There's some nice comments in here. So from Liz, who's now working at Faces over in the States, my why is to try and build a kinder world for the people with facial difference where everyone can live as their true selves. Yeah, absolutely. That is what it's all about, Liz. And I am so glad that you are such a force within this movement. It's such a joy to work with you. Just reading through. Matilda, who is our fundraising manager, my why is influence and independence. Yeah, love that. Matilda was absolutely fundamental behind the scenes in formulating all of this strategy. If you don't know her already, she does all of our community work. So if you're watching this and you want to get more involved, Matilda's a great person to go and speak to. She might even kindly put her email in the chat, which is fundraising at faceequalityinternational.org, I believe. But if you want to take on a challenge or put on an event or do something to support the cause, Face Equality Week is going to be coming up imminently in May of next year. So if you wanted to do something for that, then Matilda is your gal to reach out to. I can see she's put her email in the chat box now. Well, an anonymous attendee has said, how can people, individuals, or organizations best support FEI's mission and goals? Well, Steph is here, our new head of marketing, and I would say the first thing that she would suggest is joining the mailing list, because that is a great way to keep in touch and keep an eye on what is coming up. I would say the best way is to do something for Face Equality Week each year. And that can be anything from simply having a conversation with a friend or a family member to putting on an event, speaking to your local press. doing something to get involved in the campaign itself. You could be wanting to speak to a local politician. You could be wanting to put on a big campaign in your own right. So I would say that Face Quality Week is a key vehicle to do that. If you want to support FEI directly, then I think perhaps get in touch with Matilda about putting on perhaps a fundraiser. Another way is to utilize the resources that we have on our website. So we have a resource hub where there is a whole shop of tools that can be used in all different environments, whether it's in a school, whether it's in your workplace. Also, if you are in the UK and you are a business, you can make the most of our workplace training program. So we've trained up a group of people across the UK who are all ready to come into your workplace and tell you all about the importance of appearance inclusion at work. So get in touch if that is something that you're interested in. Um, just keeping an eye on other comments here. Some lovely supportive comments about working collectively and supportively to make a real difference is so important. And it's not just about someone who directly has a visible or facial difference, about accepting in society. Yeah. Um, we've got some comments here from Avril on her why on having a rare and progressive disease, having had multiple surgeries. So raising awareness of the difficulties in every aspect of life is important to reach support, inclusion, access, equality, and equity. Yeah, love that, Avril. Thank you so much for sharing. Hannah, our head of policy, is also saying we do have some volunteers reviewing books. If you're a bookworm and you want to get involved in our book reading list, that is a great way to get involved. We are thinking about opening up like a film review aspect in future as well. Are there any other questions? Have I missed anything? Does anybody have any desires to peek behind the curtain of FEI and ask us any questions?
Matilda has asked if there has been a moment this year when you personally felt the impact of FEI's work.
Matilda has asked me where I've personally felt the impact of FEI's work. Uh, well, probably when I cry all of the time. When we do something really positive. So earlier on this year, we traveled to the United Nations Human Rights Council, and our patron Nikki Lilly, who is a TV presenter, has been a YouTuber since she was like 7 years old, has a condition called an AVM. Um, she spoke so beautifully, so eloquently, so just profoundly about her experiences growing up online. And this was the highest possible stage. This is where international human rights policymakers come together. And she did an incredible job of highlighting the experiences of the facial difference community, a community which all too often, especially from a policy standpoint, is overlooked. So I personally felt the impact of that work in that moment, but also to bring it back to the media representation piece. I think things have come so far in recent years, and as a result of that, I have people coming up to me all of the time and actually them prompting a conversation. So them saying, "Hey, I saw this news story. Hey, there's a vitiligo Barbie," or "Hey, have you seen this film with this great person in it?" uh Here in the UK right now, we have Strictly Come Dancing going on, which I think is called Dancing with the Stars in the US. And there is an incredible person called Ellie on that program right now who has Down syndrome. So from a representation standpoint, I'm so impressed, because if I was to go back to 10 years ago, post accident for myself, I had perhaps one or two positive role models out there in public view who I could look to, and now there are So many. Um, Question about, are there any emerging issues like AI, social media, or politics that you see as important areas for FEI in the near future? Yes, absolutely. So we have two sessions for members. Well, one session for members only today, which is about utilizing AI. And then we have our facial recognition technology session at 5 p.m. UK time today, which if you're not already registered for, please do register. I'll get Steph to put the link in the chat box now. But we want to get as many people as possible there. This is about hearing from the experts about the tech. So whether it's opening up your phone, whether it is going through a passport gate, whether it is trying to get photo ID, we know that this technology is impacting people already. There is a news story every day right now about AI going wrong and causing harm to communities that are already marginalized. So we want to hear from the experts. We want to make a collective kind of plan for a route forward, which is truly consultative and which has the best interests of the facial difference community in mind. So that event is just one of the many ways in which we want to play a proactive role in being a part of the development of policies, the development of technologies, and not consistently being left behind, which is what we have so often experienced as a community. So please come along to that event. As I said, 5 p.m. today. It's on Eventbrite, and also just sharing that as well will be really, really helpful. Other questions. Would we consider a collaboration with Eurodis and Nord on the respective rare diseases surveys, studies, and research by sharing these with the FEI membership? Sounds like an absolute no-brainer, Avril. Please do share information on that. I'm sure that will be really, really relevant. So please drop us an email on info@facequalityinternational.org and we'd be happy to respond to that. In particular, I'm sure Hannah, our head of policy and education, would be good to speak to about that one. And then have we approached any major broadcasters in the UK to lobby them to allow FEI to write soap storylines to raise awareness, also to request documentaries? Well, that sounds like a fabulous idea. And I would imagine if there are any of our UK members in the audience now, they might also be pinching that idea. It might not be the most appropriate thing for us to do. We are international and we have to be careful about what we do on a UK specific basis. But that sounds like a fabulous idea for some of our UK members. So hopefully some of them are listening in now, because I do think that I believe there are some really positive examples where non-profits have engaged and helped TV producers in the UK to write scripts that are true to life. I think there was a story on Hollyoaks in the UK a couple of years ago where they consulted with some burn survivors. So I think that's a great way to champion positive and respectful media representation. We've got about 6 minutes left if there are any additional questions. If there are any of my team here who want to prompt me to say anything that I haven't already said, please do. But it's been lovely sharing this huge piece of work that's been going on, and there may well be people in the room who took a part in answering a survey or were involved in a focus group. As I said, we had a consultant doing this work, and it was so humbling when we heard people saying, I want to be a part of it. But equally, it was a really kind of good process to take a look at ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, what can we do better? What are we not doing? How can we better serve the community? What are the gaps? Who are we missing out? And how can we be more inclusive and basically plot to reach communities that we're not already reaching. We want to truly globalize the movement. At present, we've got a great footprint, as I said, in Europe and in the US and different pockets of the globe, but we know that this issue is truly global, and we would love your help if you are watching to reach parts of the globe where we know that people need our work. So that's a big focus for the next 3 years, is reaching those underserved, underrepresented groups and individuals across the globe. Any other questions? Oh, mention our members survey. So if you are here and you are a member, then you're going to be getting some feedback forms. And yeah, please take part in those feedback forms, because that will help to inform our priority setting for research, for projects. My why, equality isn't complete without face equality. Yeah, love that. Really, really good. Any other whys that anybody wants to share, or any final questions? Hopefully we're making note of some of these fabulous quotes. Can FEI reach to large fintech organizations globally to get them to invest in biometrics that are usable with a visible difference? Well, Avril, I hope that you are coming along to our FRT session later on today, because this is going to be a big part of that, is if we are to collaborate with companies that want to do better to be accessible to our community, how can we do that in the best interests? So what are the measures? What are the kind of safeguards that can be put in place? So we're not proactively reaching out, but we are talking about this more and more. That's great that you're going to be there. Fabulous. Steph, is there anything I need to round up with?
No, I don't think so. I will put a link as well to our strategy on the website. And also thank you everyone bearing with us with the technical difficulties trying to get the chat to work.
I don't think it was it even a tech difficulty? I just didn't know the difference between a chat and a Q&A. So that's just
I think the chat, there is webinar chat still, but it is still disabled despite changing the settings in the back end. So I thanks everyone that's been bearing with us and using the Q&A instead of the chat box instead.
yeah,
But I will just post a link quickly to our strategy on the website for those that are still here if they haven't had a chance to look through it.
yeah. Thank you so much, Steph, tech whiz behind the scenes. And thank you everybody for your input. It's great to have you all here. And as I said, great that we're opening this up to more and more people. So if you can join us over the next 2 days, please do. Please engage. Please continue to tell us your why. It's really exciting to all be here together. So thank you. We will close out there. Thank you, everybody, and we'll hopefully see you again later.